So this is your undercover student turned teacher who goes by the name Prince. The only reason why I'm teaching is actually to find students' problems and spit it out right here on this channel, yes. So I prefer to be a student more than a teacher because it means I always have to learn. It's not enough to finish the syllabus cover to cover. You should also know how to answer questions in half the time. Now later on this video, I'm also going to show you how to finish multiple choice questions faster and do better even if you don't know the answer. So I would advise you to watch this video till the end. Looking at the English, the part 2, you have section A, section B, and then section C. For the section A, you are given 3 essay questions to choose one. Now the section B, you have the comprehension and you are given 6 questions to answer. And the section C, 10 literature questions. Now the part 1, you are given 30 multiple choice questions. So what should you know? You are supposed to answer one essay question. So it's either you've mastered letter writing, article, debate, and so on. Now the section B and C, you are supposed to answer all questions, which are the comprehension and then the literature. Now, with the time allocation, you need to be very strategic over here. With the section A, you're supposed to spend 30 minutes, that is for the essay, maybe 25 minutes for writing, and then 5 minutes for going through. Now with the section B, you're not supposed to spend more than 20 minutes. And then section C, you're not supposed to spend more than 10 minutes. So in total, you have 1 hour. So you can have 10 minutes to go through. You know, you're writing English, the Queen's language, in fact, the King's language now. So you are supposed to be very eloquent and candid in your writing. So if you are watching this video and you are just preparing for your BECE, it means you need to learn to write essays under 30 minutes so that you can have time and then allocate to the section B and C and swipe all the full marks. So in the world of calculations, mathematics, you have 6 theory questions in the part 2 and you are given a whopping 60 minutes, that's 1 hour. You're supposed to answer 4 questions out of the 6 questions. This means you don't spend more than 15 minutes on one question. So if you are watching this video and you are preparing to write your BECE, you can pick past questions and train yourself to answer a full question in less than 15 minutes. Now it means the maximum time you're supposed to spend on one question is 15 minutes. So it involves solving and then going through to see if your calculations and computations were on point. Now with the part 1, you have 60 minutes to solve 40 questions. Not all of them are actually calculations. Some of them you just need to read through and then just answer the right question. So with integrated science, part 2, you have 2 sections, section E and then section B. Section A is compulsory with diagrams you are supposed to maybe label or identify and then with questions under it. Now with the section B, you have 5 questions. You are supposed to choose 4 questions out of them and solve. And for the integrated science, you have a whopping 1 hour 45 minutes just for the part 2. And I think looking at all the subjects, integrated science allocates you to so much time because of how lengthy the questions are and what is expected of you. Now looking at the multiple choice questions, you have 40 and you are given 60 minutes. This is because of the calculations and sometimes the critical thinking and problem solving you have to apply in order to answer the questions. So you might not be able to answer all the questions. So the best strategy to help you focus and then do well is to answer the questions you think you know best at the beginning. Yes, so you can have time to think through the ones that you are not very comfortable with. So the part 2 for information, communication and technology, you have part 1 and then part 2. Yes, that's for the ICT. You have part 1 and part 2. The part 1 is the compulsory. You mostly have a diagram you are supposed to fill or something. And the part 2, you have 4 questions. You are supposed to choose 3 questions from these 4 and then solve. And you have 60 minutes. With 60 minutes, it means so you're not supposed to spend more than 15 minutes on one question. Now with the multiple choice questions as well, 45 minutes for 40 questions. Don't spend more than 1 minute on one question. So with the part 2 for basic design and technology, you are either doing home economics and pre-tech or you are doing visual arts. If you are doing home economics and pre-tech, you have section A and then section B. So with the section A, you have the common core skills, which is a compulsory or practical question. Yes, and then with the section B, you have 3 questions. Now, if you are doing visual arts, you have the section E and then section B. With the section A, you have 2 compulsory practical questions from core skills. So you have the visual art side and then visual communication. With the section B, you have 2 questions from the 4 options, which are the weaving and stitching, carving and casting, or casting and carving, modeling, and then fabric and decoration. And you have 1 hour. Now looking at the part 1, you have 30 multiple choice questions and you have 40 minutes to answer them. Now for the home economics and pre-tech students, you're answering the section A, which is a compulsory, and then 2 questions in the section B. And for those offering visual arts in the BDT, you answer 2 compulsory questions in the section A, and then you answer 1 question from the 4 options that is in the section B. Now, when it comes to the allocation of the time, you have 1 hour, so it has to be for, I would have to give it for the home economics and the pre-tech guys, and then the visual arts as well. I think in all, you are all answering 3 questions. So if you have 1 hour and you are answering 3 questions, it means you're not supposed to spend more than 20 minutes on 1 question. So with the part 2 of the social studies, you have 6 questions, 2 questions for each section. What are the sections? You have environment, politics and stability, and then socio-economic development. With the part 1, you have 40 multiple choice questions. So what should you know? You are answering all the multiple choice questions for sure. And with the essay question, you choose 1 question from each section. So don't spend more than 20 minutes on 1 question, so that you have time to go through, as well as the multiple choice questions or objectives. Don't spend more than 1 minute on 1 question. So looking at RME, the part 2, you have 8 questions. For the 8 questions, there are 3 parts. The first part contains 3 questions, second part contains 3 questions, and the third part contains 2 questions. For the multiple choice questions, 40, the time allocation is 45 minutes. And for the part 2, you have 1 hour. And you are supposed to answer 1 question from each part of the part 2. So part 1, which has 3 questions, you are supposed to answer 1 question. Part 2, which has 1 question, you are supposed to answer 1 question. Part 2 has 3 questions. And part 3, which also has 2 questions, you are supposed to answer 1 question. You are not supposed to spend more than 20 minutes on 1 question in the part 2. So with French, looking at the part 2, you have 2 essay questions and 1 guided question and other picture descriptions. Je parle français. Tu parles français? Okay, let's move on. So you have 30 multiple choice questions with 10 feelings to fill. So over there, you are given 1 hour. So what are you supposed to do? You are supposed to answer 1 question in the part 2. It's either you are going for the guided questions or you are taking the picture description, and the time allocation is 45 minutes. So you are supposed to divide the number of questions into the number of minutes so that you can go through and correct if there is any mistake. So for the part 2, for the Ghanaian language and culture, you have 3 sections. Now the Ghanaian language and culture, by now you should know the language you are offering. So you have section A, section B, and then section C. That's still for the part 2. So you have 3 questions for the section A. For the section B, you have comprehension. You're supposed to read and understand and then answer 10 questions. For the section C, you have legs and structure, which are 20 questions, and you have 1 hour to answer all. And for the multiple choice questions, which is the part 1, you have 45 minutes. So with the time allocation, so you're supposed to answer 1 question from the section A and then answer all questions in section B. So with the time allocation, you have 1 hour for the part 2 and then 45 minutes for the part 1. So with the part 1, if you have 45 minutes, it means you're not supposed to spend more than 1 minute on 1 question. And with the part 2, 1 hour, you are not supposed to spend more than 20 minutes on 1 question. So I made you a promise at the beginning of the video that I'm going to show you what to do to always finish the multiple choice questions, even if you don't know the answer. Now, one thing is this: never leave the multiple choice questions unanswered. Even if you don't know the answer, choose something. It's a win or win affair. You don't know it, so when you choose, it's either going to get it right or not get it. Yes, it's not wrong because you didn't actually know it. Yes, so that's it. And also with the multiple choice questions as well, answer questions that are shorter at the beginning. This means you are not supposed to answer questions in order. You can just flip through at the time of the part 1. You are just going to be looking through to answer questions that are easier and then shorter to read, so that you can allocate more time to the questions that are going to consume so much of your time. This is a trick I always use to finish multiple choice questions when I was in school. To know more about how to pass your BECE exam, kindly tap on the video floating on the screen. So comment in the comment section if you think you have another strategy to help students finish exams half the time. Also, I would want you to comment in the comment section if you have any problem with respect to examination, so I spell out the solution to you.